Daniel, would you mind closing that door, please? Thank you. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Today's date will be January 13th of 2026. This is a meeting of the Arm of Springfield Council meeting. I'll start with all the councillors that are present here. As myself, Mayor Patrick Therrien, Deputy Mayor Fuel is to my right in descending order. Next is Councillors Kaczynski, Miller. Councillor Warren is not here on on leave. We'll do the land acknowledgement. The Arm of Springfield acknowledges that we are gathered on ancestral lands, Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, Dene's people, and on the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda? That'll be item number 4. Councillor Fuel and Kaczynski. Any additions to the approval of the agenda? Councillor Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to add council conduct under number 12, under closed meeting, please.
Okay. Anything else from council? I see none. Then if I can get a show of hands first and put the question of those in support. That is unanimous and so carried. Adoption of the minutes, please. That's item number 5. Therrien and Fuel. Any questions with regards to the minutes? Councillor Miller?
Yes, thanks again, Mr. Mayor. Just some clarity, and it has to do with, I'm just looking on the minutes here to be precise. It had to do with, where is it here? There was an item where there were some speakers. Here it is. It's under item 11, bylaws. And in attendance, just for clarity, it says that none were in attendance. I'm just wondering, what does that mean? Like none were in attendance? I know there were some in attendance, but I'm not sure if that's, can the CEO explain what that would mean?
Yeah, so typically in attendance would mean someone that's there on behalf of the application, which be the RM. So yeah, perhaps we should just remove in attendance and just note anyone who spoke for information, opposition, or support.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. And I've been alerted by Dr. Page actually that he also spoke. It was for information, wasn't it? Yes, so he would like his name to be added, and I do remember that that did take place. So under the for information, you have Janet Nyland. If you could add Dr. Daniel Page.
Yeah, I can listen to that. I believe the comment was more about the process of what was taking place at that time. So I don't know if it was directly related to the road closing bylaw.
I believe it was actually, but
okay, I can check that recording.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay, I see no other questions. If I can get a show of hands first, opposed question, those in support. That is unanimous and so carried. Then we'll go to reports. If I got a mover and seconder for that, Therrien and Fuel. Any questions with regards to reports? If I get a second here. Any questions from council with regards to reports? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a couple of additional items I'd like to add under my report. And for that, I would like to alert people in our community that the RM of St. Clements has a subdivision that's coming to their council, I believe on the 21st of January, and it is specifically to do with what's called Cooks Creek subdivision, Cooks Creek Estate subdivision. It's for 150 lots just north of Highway 44. And while this may not directly affect us, of course, at this council, I have had some inquiries of people who live on Cooks Creek Road as well as in my neighborhood. So to get that information for those people who are interested, they should go directly to the St. Clements RM or the RM of St. Clements website. And I believe there's a petition that's being circulated. I'm not saying to be in favor or against it, but all the information for that application is on the RM of St. Clements website. But because it's a very significant new development, I mean, 150 lots in a kind of rural agriculture area is kind of unique, and I'm not entirely sure that I would be, in fact, I know I wouldn't be receptive to it because I don't like designating or taking out agricultural land for these types of subdivisions when they can be in a hamlet. But that's for the people of St. Clements, but certainly we should have a voice as well. I also wanted to say that Cooks Creek Community Center, because I won't have a chance necessarily next time, but February 14th, they're having a Valentine's Day event. And so I would encourage anybody who's looking to have a social event on Valentine's that they're having an excellent event there. I also wanted to note that the Headingley put in a new rec center, and their new rec center is really fantastic. It's got a gymnasium, a weight room. I think some of us toured that when we were at the ARM meeting, but the cost of that rec center was $6 million. And I think they very efficiently and very much responded to the community needs. And I think it's important for us and for our social or our sports director, so to speak, to know about this, because I'm sure he does, but you know, if they can do a rec center for $6 million, that's really accommodative to the people. We should also reflect on what we're doing too. I also, a couple more points quick. The European Union has now implemented what's called a PFAS drinking water requirement. So in their regulation in the European Union, all drinking water that's provided to citizens has to be tested for PFAS chemicals. And I say this because I'm a strong advocate internationally, and I know North America doesn't take this very seriously, but the European Union does. So all the countries who are members of the European Union, which is, I'm sure you can well imagine who they are, have this new requirement. And I'm hopeful that Canada, the United States, and other countries take on this, because PFAS chemicals are carcinogens, they're cancer causing, and they're prevalent in our drinking water. And so we ought to be taking serious notice of this. Actually, the next item I want to talk about is the RM of McDonald's has opted out of the WMR, or the Metropolitan Region. We had an opportunity, Councillor Kaczynski and I and Councillor Fuel, to talk to representatives or councillors from the RM of McDonald, and they say it was the right thing for them to do to save taxpayers, ratepayers money, and they didn't want to be bound by the requirements of that organization, that they would have to commit to whatever certain amount of years. As you know, it costs us $16,000 to $17,000 a year, and we haven't had to face the reality of that yet, but we will probably in the months to come. So we'll have to make a decision on that, what's best for our residents, but we should also be engaging with them to provide them insight of what is being planned with that, and how you know, we can utilize them going forward. And I also wanted to mention the City of Winnipeg, as well as the arm of Reynolds, have already posted information about the 2026 election. And so I wanted to ask our CAO what's the anticipated timelines for us if RMs are already doing that? Some of our neighbors, we, as you know, have an election here in October of this year. What is the framework for this for our RM?
Well, I would say by March we'll have our website updated with everything for 2026. The province hasn't even released their information yet, so yeah, I'm not sure what information RMs are posting, but nothing's been sent out by the province yet, which is what usually triggers me to update our information.
Okay, I would just advise you maybe to look at the RM of Reynolds and the city of Winnipeg. I think Portage and some others have as well. So not to say that we need to be first, but obviously it's we're primed for that. I just have actually two questions. One for the mayor, and I'm not being critical. I'm sure you're busy in December like we all were. There was a John Q meeting, but is there anything that came of that? Were you advised or the minutes came out that we should be alerted to or be aware of? Anything substantial?
No. I'm trying to remember what I had for breakfast this morning, and I can't remember that. So I'm not sure if I sent out anything on that or not. I usually send something out within a couple hours or a couple days after on that. So I'll have to check and see if I sent something out or not.
Sure, no problem. Oh,
Yeah, it's here in your report that unable to attend. And that was on December 16, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I did have a quick illness that day.
oh, okay. Well, that's fine. If you can just get back to us of anything substantial. And
Okay.
the other thing is in your report, it says the RM Christmas party, which was on the 5th of December, and that's fine. You had noted there that there was a large RM population attended. So I'm just, for clarity, I think you mean the RM staff, right? Like the general
Yes.
population
Yeah.
wasn't involved or included in that. And
Yeah.
And then and that's fine for that. And the only other two questions actually to Councillor Kaczynski and Councillor Fuel. You guys attended the watershed conference. I think it was in December, right? Is there anything of substance that was of advantage to us, or would you recommend us participate in future? And what were the associated costs for something like that? Thank you.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Basically, the watersheds did basically a year review. They all went up there and did a report and shared their information of what they're working on and what they're doing, the different watersheds. Basically reviewed the AGM, which was the financials. They were in good shape and they were passed in all together. Sorry about that. And then basically we had the trade show, which was very informational. There was quite a few people there for the trade show. And yeah, it was just a great conference and it was good to be there and supporting them. And Andy, you can add anything else.
Yes, and for my part, it was 50th anniversary of Watershed celebration. So that organization exists for the province of Manitoba for 50 years. And we have a lot of information about inclusion of First Nation into the organization and working with them. So there was a presentation of First Nations and there was on the podium and speaking to delegates, whoever came to that meeting. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? I see no other questions. Then they'll pose a question to move on to the next object there. For those in support of passing the reports, show of hands. That is unanimous, so carried. Then we'll go to 6.2, and that's departmental reports. There, a mover and a seconder, please. Kaczynski and Fuel. Any comments from council at all? Go ahead, Councillor Miller.
Thank you again, Mayor. Yeah, I have a couple of questions on some of the reports. just for clarity more than anything. One of them has to do with the, I guess we can start at the, here it is, Public Works. I noticed in the report that 50% of the service requests were for signage, and I was just wondering, what does that really mean? I mean, is that road signs? Is that, in other words, a substantial amount of their time is taken up with service requests for signage, but I'm just, for clarity for myself and for residents, what would that actually entail?
Yeah, without having those work orders in front of me, I don't know. I would be guessing that it's either calls that signs have been knocked down and need to be replaced, or installing signs that have been directed by council. So I know we've put up some different speed signs lately with different resolutions from council. So it's going to be a combination coming from the public as well as direction from council.
Okay, if there's any difference, please advise us, but I think that's probably truthful. In terms of the planning, the 2025 year in review, in previous reports, it's been noted that there's been reports on all of the different kinds of things that were in the planning. So in other words, all the different types of permits, all the different types of how many lots, how many new builds and all that kind of thing. I'm not sure in this report it's changed a bit from previous years. So I'm not sure that, because Mr. Doucette isn't here, I guess you can't necessarily answer for him, but is there a reason that that has changed a little bit in its data or statistical information?
I don't know for sure. I know he consistently will do permit stats. So this is not unusual for him to do this. But I don't recall when he's put types of lots and that kind of thing. So I'd have to look back to past and see why it's different. And I can speak to Dan about that.
Okay, thank you. And one final thing is water and waste. As all of us know, we've been waiting for some feedback from Department of Environment. Has there been any uptake with that? The last time we had a chance to meet with the deputy ministers and others was, as you know, at a conference in Winnipeg, I think in mid or early December. And has there been anything beyond that? They had kind of suggested, and I'll put it on record, that it would be 2 to 3 weeks out that we would hear something, that there's either information that's missing or just a status report. Has anybody received anything on that?
So I have a bi-weekly meeting set up with that department. I did have a meeting with them yesterday. They're finalizing the package to be posted on the public website. So our consultants had to provide comments based on the comments from water quality and groundwater management services. So they were just reviewing all those responses. So I have another meeting with them on Thursday just to finalize that. So yeah, it's moving along. I think I heard that hopefully by the end of the month, we will have a draft license to review. So that's what we're shooting for.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Kaczynski.
Thank you, Mayor. I have few calls from residents about snow clearing, what happened on December 18th. And people call me and letting me know that they wasn't too happy that the snow clearing happened too late. They couldn't go to work. And snow clearing came once. They put the windrows on their properties. They cleaned the windrows. They came second time. They cleaned the windrows. They come third time and they have to clean the windrows, especially for our people who are in age and they have hard time to cleaning those windrows. So do we have anything in place that we cleaning our plows go through, that they cleaning the driveways for people too?
No, we don't have a policy to clean windrows off driveways. I mean, we have a snow and ice policy that Public Works follows. And based on the amount of snow, but they're not going to go out clearing when there's clearly windy conditions or more snow expected. They'll wait for that to stop before they start to clear. I think when you have a snow event like that, we do the best we can, but no, we can't be going and clearing every driveway after an event like that.
Did we have program for the elderly who live there on their own and
No,
they don't have, strength to clean the driveway or windrows? Like
No.
driveway, maybe they will clean, but windrow, it's very heavy snow from the road. And one lady called and she said her neighbor tried to help with the snowblower. They broke the snowblower and, then she ended up on her own and she have to hire people 3 times.
No, if it's just a
to clean.
regular clearing, we're not going to go back. If there's some kind of situation where we couldn't move the snow and it got piled up in front of someone's, obviously we'd go back and clear that, but just regular windrows, no, we're not going back and clearing that.
So when the ones with plow go through, then we never clean it, driveways for people?
I don't want to put Blaine on the spot.
Depending how much snow it's there,
online,
obviously,
but these are questions I can have Blaine speak to council about, but yeah, no, that's not our policy to go back and clear every driveway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I've got a few comments there for the fire year-end report. I felt that it was excellent, very detailed. The calls are going up, of course. Well, not of course, but as we get further into growth, we're going to get these extra calls there. So just wanted to put a good attaboy out to the fire department and our fire chief there. And I thought the report was really well done. Also mentioned in there the ranks in the stations 1, 2, and 3. So we got lots of volunteers, and that's they're volunteers, although they're paid. Still, they're volunteering to assist, and we're compensating them for that. But still, they put their name out there, as well as asset management. I thought there was an excellent report from Nomar. I've noticed a strong progression in this department there over the last 2.5 years. There, he's taken an arborist course. Is that paid by us? I would think.
Yes,
that
it's paid by the RM. Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's really good course, obviously, because now we're looking at the value of trees, and a tree you've knocked down before, there's no value in it, but if we have a tree that's knocked down in an accident or some of that, now we're getting compensated for that. So that's an excellent asset, and as well as all the working together that Nomar does with particularly public works and the water and waste there. As for water and waste, I think it's, as Councillor Miller had discussed, I was going to make a point that we're still waiting for the environmental license. It's been about 2 years, a little bit over 2 years now. So hopefully in next days going forward, we'll be able to get some better idea of where we're standing with regards to that. And that's it for me. Any other questions there before I would show of hands of those in support? If I can get that. That's unanimous, so carried. It is 6:22. The delegation is not till 6:30, but if council agrees to go a little bit early there, and if Mr. Page is ready to do that, whenever you're ready, Mr. Page. Again, it's going to be 10 minutes for each delegation and each topic there. And when you get to 5 minutes, where Chrissy's going to give you a 5-minute signal there, and then 1 minute warning.
Okay, good evening, Council. So my name is Dr. Daniel Page. I'm your local computer science professor on Pine Ridge Road. I want to relay information to Council and offer some topics of discourse given what I heard at the December 11, 2025 Capital Planning Region or Winnipeg Metropolitan Region meeting, which for purposes of my delegation, I'll just simply state as WMR. Presently, the YouTube video where the broadcast happened when live is not available to the public. Hence, this further emphasizes the importance of me reading matter into the record as a matter of transparency and governance. Recall that in early 2024, I stood before council asking it to engage with its residents and form a position at that time, given the concerns of the WMR membership and at that time Plan 2050. This was prevented by the public hearing process with Plan 2050, hence the ARM could not comment in response to the residents. However, it has been the case now for months since Bill 4 passed that the ARM has had full procedural ability to do this now and has failed to do so, even upon former councillor Karen Lalonde asking you to consider this back on July 15th, 2025. We're still here in the same position. Now, I've documented every single open meeting the ARM Springfield has had since the passing of Bill 4, and to this date, I have not seen council have an open meeting where it agreed we should undertake tasks such as speaking to other mayors and reeves that have requested to opt out of the WMR, further advance a regional plan with the WMR, invite the public to a specific meeting to comment in the chamber on this matter, complete a questionnaire created by our RM, or to engage in a randomized survey that could maybe give more statistically relevant data. Municipalities are still having conversations around WMR membership, such as, say, on December 16th, more recently, the ARM and McDonald had such a conversation, for which I was trying to have a conversation with you that same night about. Our RM should be having this important conversation, given the overwhelming public concerns with WMR membership at this time. There's a plurality of reasons a municipality may choose to opt out of the WMR, including on the grounds of the opt-out date and the upcoming municipal election, or even, and this can be for positive reasons. I know that there's many reasons, but there may even be positive, then it might be an election issue. Furthermore, the WMR itself may have particular incentives to advance this project in relation to issues around Bill 4 that may or may not be in the best interest of the ARM of Springfield. I'll be reading an approximate verbatim of Mayor Therrien's point at this WMR meeting on December 11, 2025. So I'll be beginning it once the mayor began thanking the chair and welcoming a new representative to the board. Then he said the following. I wrote this all down here because I want to make sure I leave here not thinking I should have said this. So the concept of a regional plan is for development, not only to WMR, but to the province. Minister Simard has been very approachable and committed, as has Premier Wab Canoe. I have the highest respect for our government. I reach out to the majority of the board. The idea of a regional model is not unique. It's been 30 years in the making. This board, who I have the highest respect for, also chair, WMR staff, especially for Jennifer, everybody is committed to the plan, is my feeling there, as well as the other ones who had left. I can't talk on behalf of them. I tried to reach out to as many as I could. So we continue to work well together in a respectful, civil manner. The process is both exhaustive and aggressive as we proceed on a very tight schedule. The concern is the date of the opting out, which is an election issue, which is the 26th of October 26. This has been expressed at the board meetings for some time now. I feel compelled to do so again based on the following points that I felt had to be mentioned. Bill 37, I think this may be Jim Robson, had basically touched upon most of this. So I apologize for just going through it here, again there, but Bill 37 is still in the process, is going to be reviewed and amendments and so on like that. The Braid report, which we heard, is that what it is called, I believe. It is very well done. I really like that report, as well as the province's land use plan as well. The results of the survey, it's kind of impressive. 1,100 people had responded there. It's nice to know what the breakdown, it'd be nice to know what the breakdown is for other RMs there, but it's nice to see that is quite high. That has to be worked on. So this summer, the board, as well as others who may wish to campaign, are going to be in a heated campaign for the summer. So the schedule before us, this schedule right here, I won't go through it there, but it's a pretty tight schedule. And again, as Jim had mentioned there, In an ideal world, keeping this there, I don't think that's realistic. And we have to have a little bit more wiggle room around that. The public hearings with the new plan, it's very tight again. I have to show about the August 8th public hearing, referring to Niverville, which was, you know, what it was. It's not something that everybody wants to see at any time. So can we, as a board, with a with more of a tighter schedule, assuming everything works out well, is it realistic? The opting out election date, as I stated before, is a rigid date. This is in effect will be an added stressor in the timing, given it's election year, and we're all going to be campaigning, and it's going to be a very, very busy time. So I am for the regional plan, and I support it. It is not a want, it is an imperative, I believe. So we need time to allow the process to proceed unencumbered. Could it influence the outcome there? I think that's a drastic comment, but on my part there, but I think it has to be explored there. Given the time restraints and given everything, our schedules are extremely tight there.
3 minutes, Mr. Page.
So my comment is, discuss the possibility of an opt-out date based on the pending election. Is it wise to have this on an election year? I just think it's another stressor that I think we have some control over through the government, of course. Legislation would have to be changed, but I would like to throw it out for discussions. Some of the options that I thought here, it's not as easy as writing on a piece of paper. There's lots of legislation, or two parts of the legislation that have to be amended should we look at opting out and submission. The delay for opting out submissions there for new councils is going to be a heck of a learning curve for a new council coming in there, depending on a possibility of the board changing here, and that's probably likely the case in some form or another portion of that. It would be like drinking from a fire hose, I guess, is probably a good description for that. I got two options here that I thought in talking with other mayors, reeves, and councillors on the board. There is a January 1st submission date and opting out a date be one and the same. That's option one. Option two is looking at the following dates, April of 2027 as an opt-out and September 2027 as a submission date. This gives a lot of time for a new council to look at the complexity of the plan, and we're working really well. The plan, I think, is going exceptionally well, but again, it's tied to these things in a perfect world. This will happen. We all know local governance is, at whatever level, is not always ideal. You look at it as a relative timeline, but we can't be holding hard and fast to that. I think we're holding hard and fast to it now. So I'm not doing a resolution here. It's just something that we should discuss, and we can, depending on what the chair's options there.
1 minute, Mr. Page.
We have to explore that. I thank you very much for your time. Then, so now that concludes the passage. Then, Mayor Tarrant, after extensive broad and sometimes off-topic discussion about optics by various members of the board, then made and moved a resolution that the WMR would recommend November 1st, 2027 for a new opt-out date the WMR would speak to the province about. Then Mayor Tarrant voted in favor of the resolution and it passed. So what the outcome of that becomes is unknown at this stage while we still have Bill 4 before us and no progress on carrying out the will of our municipality in a transparent manner. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Right on. You had 8 seconds left. Any questions? Any questions from council? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor, and Dr. Page, thank you very much for taking the time to share your concerns with us regarding this, because this is a very big, important issue within our municipality. I get calls continually, actually, even though it's not really percolating right now in front of the media. But what I can tell you is that we made a motion, as you know, in the December meeting to also encourage the minister to push back the date. But having said that, we're going to be in a bit of a pickle if the province doesn't do something, in the sense that our council will have to make a decision to either stay within the program or opt out. And what I'm saying is that there's a commitment, but also a dollar figure attached to it, right? It's a significant dollar figure. So I suspect what the WMR, or the Metropolitan Region, is planning to do is to have a plan sometime in March or April for the municipalities to review and to kind of discuss. But as you mentioned, it's going to be very difficult because in May already the bid for mayors of all the different municipalities is going to happen, and so the focus will be there'll be distractions, right, for this whole process. So, in what you've said here is that and I know former Councillor Lalonde has said, is that we should have ongoing discussions with our community, and I know Councillor Kaczynski and I are more than prepared to do that. We have held at least one, and we intend to have more if the RM doesn't do it, and we encourage the RM to do it. So how do you see us facilitating the public engagement in this process? Because again, it's not for us to decide. It is for us to decide because of the way democracy works, but we haven't heard the opinions of our electorate, right? So, you know, I can foresee it, as you've said, and the WMR knows full right that this is going to be a hot topic for each one of us when we're on the election campaign. And for the new candidates, this is going to be front and center within the first 5 topics. What are you going to do? What's your stance on the Metropolitan Region, and how do you foresee that coming about? So how do you see us doing a better job?
Sure. So a couple of basic things is, first, in having an actual meeting where people actually come and speak to council, that's one very basic thing that can be done. Another thing, of course, is creating your own questionnaire. That's another mechanism. One thing that I do mention in my delegation is the idea of randomized, like picking a sample of people in a randomized manner and getting that information. So, for example, one thing that can be done, this is just something that some municipalities have done in the past, not necessarily Manitoba, but an idea is roundtable discussions. What you do is you take a random sample of the population, you invite them to come to give roundtable discussions, where you set up roundtables, you get feedback from them, and you can put all that information up on front. It gives you something to start off with. Then you can come and speak to the public and say, this is some of the stuff we've heard. We want to invite you to come to a meeting where you can give your thoughts, and here's some bullet points that we can start with. But yeah, there's a lot of different basic ways. I think the most fundamental one is put your finger up and, just see what the wind says.
See what the pulse
But it
is.
needs to be done in a public way.
Absolutely. Now we're kind of in a tough spot for the simple reason that, as you know, Plan 2050 was rejected and thrown out, and it had no benefit for our RM, and I would have absolutely voted against it. No two ways about that. But having said that, right now the Metropolitan Region has no plan, has no vision. So it's hard to go to our constituents and say to them, this is what they're proposing, because there's a blank sheet of paper. And so I don't want to speculate. I don't want to provide rumor or innuendo to residents, because I think that's wrong. It's, as the mayor has said, it's sometimes misinformation or even disinformation, and we ought not to be doing that. But the concept of regional planning is absolutely important. Again, I think that I came from the Institute of Urban Studies of the University of Winnipeg, and so I believe regional planning is important because there are multiple benefits, but in Plan 25 there is very little. In fact, there is no benefits for the RM of Springfield specifically. That's not to say that we need the public to be engaged and be aware of what's coming down the pipe, right? And so we should start now. We should start immediately to see what people have in terms of ideas and concepts of what a regional plan could look like, because maybe that'll enhance and provide input to the Metropolitan Region going forward. So I just hope that you'll be an integral part of that process, because I think you have a good background and you are well versed in these kinds of things as well. So I'm encouraged by what you're saying today, and and always look forward to what how we'll move forward on this project.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Page, you're good from math. What do you think about that 1,100 people only have a respond to the survey? From city of Winnipeg, 800,000 people, and probably outside community, the 70 communities, it's probably maybe another 100,000 people. So how anybody can gauge a response like it wasn't properly advertised or maybe incorrectly advertised or people not aware about that WMR exists? Because 1,100 people, like this is like such a small number of people participating in the, how you can base opinion for the whole community of million people almost on 11 people response to it.
So to answer your question, so I'll give you kind of a good statistical view of this. So first, a voluntary survey, when you have that small of a sample, may not actually be very valuable really at all. It'll give you input. But the thing is, you're usually with a voluntary survey, you may expect to get kind of the responses, like when you're trying to get a kind of a general view of what a large population's thinking, you're probably going to be hear from people that are like, that you need to answer this thing because you support the thing, or people that really oppose the thing. And I don't know to what weight it'll be on one side or the other. It's hard to say. But I will most certainly say that if you wanted to have, if say somebody said 1,100 and they did a randomized, like they got randomized sample, then it would be a much better thing to have. But as a voluntary survey, it's just input. That's all you got. That's not anything you can infer and much really from.
Yeah, my second question. Sorry, my second question is, how many people in community like WMR know about Braid's report?
Probably very few. Probably don't even know what it is.
So this is like done for government, provincial government, or for provincial government. They didn't advertise. They just mentioned maybe to the mayor and councillors that we will send those reports and we can read that. But community is not aware whatsoever what's in it. So the whole system somehow doesn't work. Everything is like enclosed, you know, and the people on the top and broad community, it's not aware what's happening with it. So it's going to be up to us, councillor and this council, I guess, to go to the community and really explain to them the whole situation, what we may be putting ourselves into it, and get the feedback, proper feedback from them. So I encourage council that we have lots of meetings with our community before anything happens. And we have to allocate the time, and probably sooner than later, we should have those meetings happening. Thank you.
Thank you. We got Mr. Sorry.
Sound very loud. Okay, one more question.
Thank you again, Mayor. Just a quick question to Dr. Page. As you know, the premier of this province, who was elected as a new premier, put a halt on this whole process because he saw the flaws in it. He saw that the municipality should have more of a role and that the WMR was probably, and I can't put words in his mouth, but it was probably a developers consortium that was fostering what they have done in Ontario is have developers really continue to have influence on municipalities. My main concern here too is that the city of Winnipeg, of course, had a veto over all the regional municipalities, and that is not a starting point for this new plan. How would you take it as a resident, because you're not on council, if the new plan comes out and says, yes, once again, the city of Winnipeg will have that ultimate veto on what the municipalities do?
Sure. No, I can answer that quite simply. That would not fly. No, unfortunately, a lot of people in this community, especially if you're talking about people that moved here maybe decades ago, especially if we're talking about people that maybe moved into Oakbank decades ago, and a lot of the rural residents, I'm not talking about our longstanding farmers, some of them have joined the community. Many of them didn't want anything to do with Winnipeg. They left, they wanted to get away from that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Then Mr. Giesbrecht there. We'll start whenever you're ready.
If I may ask, what is this screen block here?
I don't know, but it's not for us.
Oh, it's gone now.
It's only
Magically.
showing up here. It's not showing up on Zoom.
Same rules, Mr. Giesbrecht, as Mr. Page, 10 minutes for the presentation. We'll give you a 5-minute warning, let you know the time, and then a 1 minute.
I do have, I would hope for maybe a concession consideration of maybe 20 seconds on my first delegation. You will find my second delegation coming in and the third around 7.5 minutes.
As long as it's under 10, that's all we're looking at.
Well, I may go 20 seconds over.
Well, if it's 21, we might have a problem.
And given that I've got 3 delegations, do you want me to successively go through them all and then answer any questions, or do you want me to?
No, let's have the questions. What's council think? Is it better to have the questions after each delegation? I think so. Yeah, after each delegation, then
Okay.
we'll have a few minutes of questions. And
Fair enough. My name's Edwin Giesbrecht, and I'm a longstanding resident of Springfield. I'm speaking towards the WMR delegation today here. And I rise tonight not for applause, but because silence has become complicity. We have reached a point where democratic participation in this municipality no longer feels welcome. When question period disappears, when delegations are blocked before they ever reach the elected table, and when residents are muted mid-sentence, democracy itself begins to unravel. The unraveling is visible now, trust is shaken, and confidence in the administration broken. Delegations in Springfield are increasingly denied on grounds that exist nowhere in legislation or bylaw. Residents who submit properly and in good faith are rejected before council ever sees their names. These decisions do not originate from the elected body. They originate from administration. When the administration decides which residents may speak and which may not, democracy becomes selective. Delegations are not favors, they are statutory oversight. Restricting them is not procedure, it is administrative control over the public record. And this pattern of gatekeeping has grown in perfect parallel with Springfield's increasing alignment with the Winnipeg metropolitan region. A model built on centralized authority, minimal public input, and unelected structures making decisions above local governments. On December 16th, 2025, the rural municipality of McDonald exercised that authority by council resolution and formally withdrew from the capital planning region. I commend the foresight shown by Reeve, Brad Erb, and the council of the rural municipality of McDonald in exercising their authority openly and with common sense. From the mid-20th century onward, Manitoba has periodically pursued forms of regional centralization intended to improve cooperation and coordination amongst municipalities. In each instance, those structures were later reconsidered or unwound when they pulled decision-making away from the communities most directly affected. Today, some residents describe current regional planning models using terms such as 15-minute city as shorthand for that reoccurring pattern. I raise this not to oppose collaboration, but to reflect a historical grounded public concern which makes clarity about authority, accountability, and council's role essential to any cooperative framework. At the recent Cooks Creek Town Hall, the message was unmistakable. The public expects elected officials to govern, not to be governed by administrative bottlenecks or regional boards. That expectation is being ignored. The WMR is being marketed as collaboration, but the reality is stark. Winnipeg holds effective veto power. Unelected executives steer the agenda, and Springfield is being ushered into this framework without transparent consultation or democratic mandate. At a recent Winnipeg Metropolitan Region meeting, the mayor publicly stated that he supports the regional plan. That is not a want, but an imperative, unquote. and then raised concerns that allowing municipalities to opt out on the legislative timeline could interfere with the process because it coincides with an election year. He went further by suggesting that the opt-out deadline itself should be delayed or altered to give the regional plan more time to proceed. Those views may be held personally, but they were expressed in the wrong form and in the wrong order. Positions of that consequence should be debated openly with Springfield residents first, tested through council, and only then advanced externally as council-directed positions when a mayor articulates such views as at a regional table before they are discussed publicly. Here, it is not leadership. It is the exercise of unfettered discretion without mandate. That approach does not protect Springfield's right to choose. It prejudices it. That same logic now underpins Springfield's water debate, a debate that has become the perfect case study of regional dependency creeping in through the back door. It has come to my attention the administration is contemplating a permanent 5% annual levy increase explicitly intended to pressure developers to repay their levies or to prepay their levies, with those prepaid funds then used to offset borrowing costs for the water treatment plant. A perpetual compounding levy increases that is disconnected from inflation or actual operating cost is not cost recovery, it is behavioral taxation. It shifts long-term actuarial risk onto future councils and ratepayers while allowing developers to buy certainty upfront and exit. That is structural risk decision, not a neutral financial one, and it warrants explicit council scrutiny before being normalized or embedded by default. We're being told to accept a $20 to $30 million water treatment plant financed by long-term debt for generations to come, yet the recently expanded Winnipeg Regional Water Treatment Facility sits inside Springfield's borders, supplied by an aqueduct that runs straight through this municipality. So I contacted Shoal Lake 40 First Nation directly. Their leadership was clear. Nothing in the 1913 tripartite arrangement has changed. Any modernization must begin with Winnipeg and Manitoba. Shoal Lake 40 cannot even begin a conversation with Springfield because the other two tripartite partners have shown zero political will to update the framework.
4 minutes, Mr. Giesbrecht.
If the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region cannot, as a regional initiative, pursue modernization of the tripartite Shoal Lake agreement to conclusion, the single most consequential framework in this region, then it is fair to ask that exactly what the WMR is leading municipalities into. That fact exposes the entire issue. Springfield cannot access that water without Winnipeg and Manitoba at the table, and neither has lifted a finger. And I've seen no visible lobbying from our mayor, no diplomatic push, no political effort to initiate conversation, not one attempt. When residents are being told they must accept 20-30 million in debt, leadership is expected to exhaust every diplomatic avenue, not with a token inquiry, not with a perfunctory call, not a shrug, but with a real, sustained, dignified effort before defaulting to the most expensive option. Instead, we were offered this explanation from our own water and waste leadership. The International Joint Commission is a hurdle. With respect, that is frivolous. The IJC deals with cross-border impact. Springfield's demand would be a microscopic compared to Winnipeg's existing draw. Shoal Lake 40 did not raise the IJC. That excuse came from here internally. There is a better alternative. Modernize the tripartite agreement, tap the existing Winnipeg supply, and run a distribution pipeline back through Dugald, Oak Bank, and beyond. Springfield would operate its own pumping stations. This avoids massive borrowing, respects First Nation rights, and ensures long-term water security and eliminates the need for a costly new treatment plant. Leadership should be championing this. It is not. Instead, the water plant debate mirrors WMR model, precisely decisions made elsewhere, assumptions replace analysis, debt replacing diplomacy, and the public told to accept it quietly. And this brings us to the reality of what is being pushed onto residents. Just recently, our premier reminded Manitobans not to engage in arguments that distract from the real issue. The real issue here is not presentation, it is consequence. The proposed $20 to $30 million water plant is not an isolated project. It is the opening obligation in a much larger chain of borrowing, followed by a $70 million lagoon, additional long-term commitments. These are not abstract numbers. They represent decades of financial obligation imposed on Springfield's taxpayers and ratepayers. When infrastructure of this scale is financed through regional frameworks, control does not remain where the debt is incurred. Authority begins to migrate away from the local community and toward external boards and structures that residents did not elect and cannot readily influence. Springfield did not consent to surrender its decision-making autonomy to distant bodies. That outcome is not inevitable, but it becomes increasingly difficult to avoid once these commitments are embedded. The opportunity to retain local control exists now, but only if council is prepared to hold the line. Before I close, I must address a serious concern about the climate for public participation in this chamber when question period is eliminated, when delegations are filtered before reaching the elected table, and when references are made to emergency measures or law enforcement presence in a manner connected to public participation. A clear boundary has been crossed. These practices do not strengthen governance, they erode public confidence and undermine the integrity of the democratic process. The independence of police services must be respected, and they must never be invoked directly or indirectly as a tool to manage, discourage, or intimidate civic engagement. The responsibility for maintaining a safe, open, and respectful democratic forum rests with the chair, and it is collectively borne by council as a whole, regardless of who attempts to speak for it. Residents are not the problem. Residents are the foundation of this municipality. Opting out of the WMR will not isolate Springfield. It will restore accountability. It will return decision-making to the people who live here, pay taxes here, and built this municipality long before the WMR existed. This is my personal view. I believe Springfield should withdraw from the WMR. I'm expressing that opinion openly and honestly, and as I'm entitled to do, the Freedom Act gives this council one opportunity, to choose autonomy over subordination. Springfield does not require a new master. Springfield does not require distant boards to speak on its behalf. Springfield does not require administrative gatekeeping to determine whose voice is heard. What Springfield requires is the restoration of its voice, its autonomy, the democratic accountability. This evening, I am asking council to choose Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Bang on. Any questions? Go ahead, Councilor Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Giesbrecht. A lot of information there, somewhat overwhelming, but I agree in a lot of elements of what you're saying. I wish it was as simple as tapping into Shoal Lake, the aquifer, or not the aquifer, but the aqueduct that runs from, as you know, Shoal Lake to the city of Winnipeg, well, actually to Springfield and then the city of Winnipeg. I wish there was more discussion on that, and maybe there can be going forward. As I say, I don't disagree with a lot of things that you say. I think we've changed the dynamics of public engagement with this council, and that's obviously something that you're very concerned about. And I hear it almost every couple of days from residents who can't gain access here, but that's for another day. So my concern with what you're saying, or question for what you're saying is, you're suggesting that we ought to, as a council, opt out of the capital planning region organization. I guess that's what they officially call themselves. Having said that, how would I, or how would any member of council here respond to a resident? I can see the financial benefit of opting out, of course, but if they don't have a document, like, are we going on assumptions? They don't have a document, like a new 2050, for us to evaluate and to assess. So would it be premature to opt out when we don't even know what they're proposing, so to speak? Like, how would you term it? In other words, I want to opt out because the financial implications for our RM, I think they're unreasonable. But at the same time, again, my background coming from planning in the sense, I see the importance of regional cooperation, but I cannot tolerate, and would this not be for you as well? So two questions, the plan that doesn't exist, and the second, with Winnipeg having the veto, seems absolutely unreasonable. Because again, why should we allow them to tell us what to do? In other words, you don't even need us. The city of Winnipeg is going to tell us what to do. I guess that's just the way it's going to be. We don't need this expensive venture to do that. So those are kind of the two questions. If we don't if they have an opt-out clause, should we continue with it? And secondly, is I had talked to you about the plan that doesn't exist.
Well, first of all, the plan that doesn't exist as you may or may not know, in Niverville, I was accepted by 2050 by the WMR. I was in the queue to speak, and that went south. It was overburdened with an outpouring of residents from all over the province, actually, and it got shut down. The WMR, in my follow-up with them, absolutely assured me that they would be looking for a larger venue to rehear and that I would remain in the queue. That didn't work. So if we're going to speak the truth, let's speak to the truth. As far as the overall plan and not having a plan and alternatives, fine. If we don't opt out now, it could be more difficult later. It's a lot easier to opt in than it is to opt out. So at least you hold your legal footing. Secondly, if the province really wants this and the city wants it so much, tell them to fund referendums on each individual municipality and let the people speak. A legitimate referendum. They can pay for it. Alternatively, on the third row, there should be a committee in each municipality that follows up on all of this information, all of these reports, so that they can share with the public. And that they have nothing of the sort. So basically, as I see it, we've got Bill 4 as a mitigating shield to try and offset the public's disgruntlement with 2050 and what is actually happening here, which is an overreach. And so that is that's number one. That is, absolutely a precursor to if this is going to be a democratic process. Let's make it a democratic process. Let's not make it a dog and pony show. So that would be my response as far as your first question. Remind me your second question, please.
If the city of Winnipeg has the opt-out powers, right? So you talked about no plan. It's better to opt out now and then we can opt in. But if the city of Winnipeg, if we're in this capital region planning assembly, do you see the city of Winnipeg having too much power with their opt-out ability?
It's unquestionable. It has been there. It has always been there. The reference of 15-minute cities, we had the city of St. James with its own chief of police. I knew him. We had city of Transcona and River Heights and all these different cities where you could translate from one city to the next. But it didn't work out too well, and they tried to regulate it, and they put it into a metropolis. Well, now the metropolis is in trouble, and they want us to pay for it, and they want us to adopt it, and they made the mistakes, and they want us to repeat the mistakes.
Okay, I have to interject here. There is no 15-minute city. So what you're saying is illusional. What you're saying is called
what?
It's amalgamating. What we're doing is amalgamating. There's every 50
that's
years.
What they did with that's what they
be...
did with all the cities. But I'm not here to debate my delegation with you, sir.
No, well then you're here before council. But then this is going along. You got 2 more delegations to go, and we're already at 7 o'clock.
I'm answering Councilor Miller's question.
If you're asking for opinions, I don't think this is the right questions of Councillor Miller for asking people for their opinions when this is the delegation. They just gave their opinion. So he's obviously against it there. So I'm not sure what kind of questions you're trying to get that's going to be any different than what he already said. And now it's Deputy Mayor Fuel.
I just have a comment to make. I want to thank both of you for coming forward with this delegation. You, Dr. Page and Mr. Giesbrecht. Thank you for coming forward and letting council listen to this. I'm taking notes as both delegations spoke, and I'll make comments at a later time. But at this time, I think it's exactly like Councillor Miller stated. There is nothing to go with at this time. And I think that's the bigger step that there's not even a draft at this time. So take it from there. Thank you.
And your next presentation, Councillor Kaczynski.
Thank you. Mr. Giesbrecht, thank you for being such a good reader, because I don't know how anybody can absorb whatever you have to put in the 10 minutes. Like, I never see anything like it, that we have to force people to, read the whatever presentation you have with that kind of speed. And I don't know if this is good for community or anything like that. So I really appreciate your presentation too. But I would like to say, like, we have discussion with the councillor from McDonald, and they said through that survey what they have, and Councillor Fuel was present there, that if you stay in a WMR, you're committing yourself to 8 years. You cannot opt out. If you don't opt out now, then you stay in it for 8 years. I don't know if anybody can state that, because they did it that.
No, that's misinformation.
So, but they make decision, the municipality of McDonald, on that base. So what they know more than we don't know.
No, you have the option to opt out after the election pending a public hearing. Before the election, you don't have to have a public hearing. You just have to pass a resolution to opt out. Following that October 26th deadline, you have to hold a public hearing, and then council can pass a resolution, and then the minister can approve or deny your request. At this point, the minister will always approve it before that October 26th deadline.
So which councillor told you the 8 years?
There is two of them.
I know who they are too. I'm trying to remember who they are. LaSalle.
Yeah, there is two of them. It's
Well,
Paul
no,
and
there's a
Glenn.
process to go through. Sorry, I didn't pick up that you're talking
Yeah.
about 8 years there.
One, but I
But
don't know.
no, the process.
Maybe you heard through your meetings that it's 8 years, because they
No,
get that
it's-
information from someplace.
It's up
because-
for review in 8 years. It's actually 10 years. There's a 2-year where you can do a pre.
that your mic is in
plan.
a way I don't see it.
This is obstructing my view.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
That looks better. Yeah. You
But
are
no,
not
there-
distorted if.
No, there's a procedure for getting out there. Well, I won't interrupt you. Go ahead. Is that it?
No, so I want to say, so if we have to remain in for 8 years, and what damage could be done if we 8 years or 10 years, and if you have to try to opt out if you're in it, and it's going to be up to minister, if community going to say we don't want to be in it, and then minister going to say no, you're in it now.
No,
Then what do we
it's
do?
up to the minister to decide. But still, it's not 8 years. I'm not sure what they're talking about for 8 years.
Okay, so forget about 8 years. Whatever time frame is there, it's unknown now. If we don't like it for some reason, our community doesn't like it, and said we want to opt out now, and minister gonna say no, you can't, because the term is that whatever time frame they're gonna allocate for our community to remain in a WMR.
Well,
So we have to find that out. So maybe if you go to those meetings, you can ask WMR or whatever. You can say.
Well, we've already
something.
explained that now. But
Yeah.
the point is that we don't know what the plan is. We have to wait and see what the plan is. To opt out before, I think would be a bad move on our part. But I'll take a democracy. I'm fully aware democracy has to rule. But the point is, if you're going to opt out of a plan before knowing what the plan is, you're really not opting out of a plan, because it's not a plan that you're rejecting.
But that's one point of one side of the coin. But we can always join in. If we opt out, we can always join in.
We can join back, yeah.
Nobody gonna say that we can't, because in March probably we have to pay another $17,000 or $18,000 to WMR.
Yes.
It's gonna be our fee if we're in it.
Yeah.
So the price for it is growing, and we don't know the results of this whole endeavor.
Well,
What's I wanna say?
the plan. I would hope they'll be coming out in early spring. So it's one of those things. It's an investment there, and we're not there yet. So let's wait and see what the plan is.
So one thing I want to ask you on the board of WMR, are you guys working on that plan? Because the meetings you have There is just talk about procedure, nothing about the how, what you gonna put in that plan? It's nothing there
Well,
so far.
there's a working group that's working on that, and they keep us up to date on that as well. We haven't had an update, and we have another meeting coming up in another, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. So I'll have a better idea.
And it's gonna be presented to the public or just in a group?
No, we'll probably see it first.
How many people it's in a group that working
12.
on that? 12?
In the group? No, it's half that, 6. I was asked to be on that, but I declined.
And who they working with?
Well, with experts and all the other research that we've had and the studies and so on like that, they've got everything together, and that's the way I.
Do they work with the public too?
Well, once we get everything together, the public. That's the reason I said we have to get another postponement, another year in a bit there. To allow us time to have all this in there. Because when I think Mr. Page was talking about where I said this and so on, I was referring to a document that I had. It was just a simple kind of a board there showing about 5 steps, and the steps are so congested there during an election year. That's why I put the motion in there to have it delayed for a year, so we have a chance to have the public engagement. We have a chance to get everything together where we can look at the plan as a council. And if we're going to be having this at an election year, it just made no sense to me at all.
So how many public engagement you suggested WMR gonna have with the public? They want to have 2 of them.
Yeah.
And one was there, it wasn't that pretty there, and the second one didn't happen.
Yeah.
So if they don't go to the public, and if they want to just two meetings, it's gonna be again the same probably outcome as of the first one.
Let's face it, there's a bunch of groups there that were causing the havoc in that meeting on August the 8th. We had a person that was looking at myself and another Reeve and saying there's 4 of us for every one of them. Let's take them. So that's a kind of a violence that they're talking about. You should know that because it was pretty close to you. So that guy was there, just a real bravado, a real tough guy. But there was a lot of people in there that wanted to be heard. Absolutely. I was talking to them well in advance there. And like Mr. Giesbrecht said, you're in a queue and people were ready to go there. But either way, that's historical. But that's where we are with regards to that. They're going to have a couple of engagements there, and we'll know better at that time there. If the minister is able to postpone it for that time, then that'll give us more time to have engagements and not when everybody's on the campaign trail. I know I'll be working like a dog there. So I don't want to be doing all this, and I think anybody else running, it's the same thing. We have to be ready to go ahead and in a more of a gentle light to absorb all the information.
So if those meetings on WMR with the public are so scary, that are we all going to have bodyguards if we go to the meetings with the public then?
I think that's kind of silly. I won't even answer
silly,
that.
like you said, it was you was afraid. You said there was 4 goons after you or something like that. So that's what's happening then.
I wasn't scared. If you're insinuating that I wasn't. But the rest of the mayors and Reeves, we had a lot of ladies there with us as well, and they were very scared.
I just have a quick question for Mr. Giesbrecht, if council doesn't mind. Can I ask why you didn't provide me that document that you read from in advance as I requested?
This, I was working on this and all of these till 5:30 today.
Okay.
Period.
Okay, let's go to the next delegation here. And I'd ask if there's any, we're spending an exorbitant amount of time just on questions there. It's a presentation, so we'll do your facts and like that, and there shouldn't be a hell of a lot of questions after if the presentation is done correctly. Okay, go ahead for your next one there, 10 minutes.
I've identified myself here already on the first one, but
well, identify yourself
I am
again for
Edwin
people.
Giesbrecht, a longstanding resident of Springfield and a staunch advocate of our community. I'm speaking here on this delegation, public engagement, procedural policy analysis, untoward social media moderation and public engagement policy. This delegation is a policy-level governance review within council's jurisdiction and does not concern staff performance or individual conduct. This procedure is presented as a transparency and safety measure on analysis. It concentrates unchecked discretion on municipal staff to curate speech, remove criticism without notice, escalate residents to leadership or police, and shield the RM from liability. The cumulative effect is a chilling regime over public discourse rather than an open forum for democracy engagement. There is a disconnect between the stated purpose of the policy and its practical effect. The direct evidence from the policy is purpose and scope. Social media used to share info, foster transparency, engage residents, applies to official RM accounts. Community engagement guidelines. RM may not respond to every inquiry. Comments ignored if unrelated, repetitive, or already public. Comments moderation standards. RM may hide, delete, block comments for profanity, threats, discrimination, false, misleading info, spam, defamation of personal attacks, obscenity, impersonation, violations of law, may remove without notice. Escalation protocol, safety or legal concerns escalated to CAO, law enforcement, senior management. Direct messages, accounts monitored during office hours, responses not guaranteed. Disclaimer and indemnity. RM may remove, limit interaction without notice. Users indemnify, hold harmless RM for claims from others' content. Critical findings. The following subsections identify the most significant weaknesses, risks, and governance failures embedded in the social media moderation procedure. Each demonstrates how the policy as drafted, may suppress legitimate public participation and erode transparency rather than enhance it. The weaponized vagueness of it is here. Terms like unrelated, repetitive, and false, misleading information are undefined, enabling selective enforcement, targeting critics via defamatory category, equating targeted accusations with harassment shields, officials from accountability and chill speech, arbitrary authority over truth and defamation. No standards are provided for determination or determining truth or defamation, placing municipal staff in a role that exceeds typical municipal communication policy functions. By attempting to define defamation internally, it may reasonably be perceived as usurping appropriate administrative authority, unaccountable deletion, and no appeal. Content may be removed without notice, with no record or appeal, creating an opaque, unaccountable removal process. Escalation as intimidation, escalating resident comments to CAO or police risk intimidation and overreach. Indemnity and liability shifting. Indemnity clause insulates RM from responsibility while curating and controlling speech. The combined use of defamation-based moderation categories and discretionary escalation powers may reasonably be perceived as discouraging critical participation, even when comments are made in good faith. One-way communication. RM states it does not guarantee responses, making social media a one-way communication channel rather than open dialogue. This procedure raises governance concerns regarding public participation. Broad and undefined moderation standards, combined with unreviewable enforcement, may discourage residents from engaging in good faith public discussion. The issue is not intent or liability, but whether municipal communication practices promote open engagement or unintentionally suppress it. The due process and governance gaps. There's no oversight, no appeal process, no reporting obligations. Lack of transparency creates opportunity for arbitrary or politically motivated enforcement. Recommendations and safeguards. Define clear, narrow standards aligned with the law. Avoid staff determinations of defamation. Publish a transparent log of removals with anonymized entries and reasons. Create a notice and appeal process for non-emergency removals. Require evidence and supervisory approval for false, misleading enforcement. Restrict escalation to clearly define evidence-based safety thresholds with supervisory approval. Revise indemnity language to reflect RM's active moderation role. Require public logging and reporting of all moderated or removed comments to prevent silent erasure of dissent. Commit to viewpoint neutral enforcement with independent audits. Although listed on the agenda as for information, as it had previously been, this procedure carries operational and legal implications for residents. For information should not mean beyond scrutiny. Council remains responsible to follow appropriate procedures and processes when policies are introduced unless validated by Council through a formal motion, vote, and inclusion in the minutes. Such a policy has no binding cause or effect. It remains an internal draft with no legitimate standing to government resident interaction. If this policy is used to justify hiding, altering, or redacting critical resident comments under the guise of moderation, this would raise serious concerns of unethical redaction and manipulation of the public record. For the integrity of the municipal governance, Council should ensure that public comments on agenda items remain preserved, transparent, and unaltered. Any such redaction would also fall squarely within the oversight mandate of the Ombudsman. In conclusion, Council should recognize that while the stated goal of this procedure is transparency and civility, the policy as written risks undermining those very values. Without clear definition, oversight, and safeguards, it may discourage resident participation and create a perception of intimidation or suppression rather than engagement. This delegation is informed directly by the policy language and its observable application in practice, identifying structural governance issues rather than isolated incidents or individual decisions. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Any questions? Deputy Mayor?
Mr. Giesbrecht, is there by any chance Council could get a copy of that delegation?
Absolutely. In fact, Councillor Fuel, not today, but I will undertake and I will email each and every member of you what I have put together here for my oral report, and you will get my notes as they have been read.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Giesbrecht, again. Just a brief couple of questions. As you know, you went through the process of requesting to appear as a delegation. I did some research over the holidays to see how we compare to other municipalities. In other words, I'm always on guard. I always want to make sure that our municipality has the best mechanism for allowing the public to engage with the council, right, through delegation process. So here's an example. The RM of Stonewall, they have a one-pager, and basically it says the date of meeting, name of delegate, name of spokesperson, your address, phone number, interest the delegation represents, general nature of the presentation, and please indicate the action being requested by council. So I guess that's a good point. There are easier ways to approach municipal councils, and maybe we need to improve that. Continuous improvement is absolutely important. But if you were to say something and recommend something to us, what would be the action that you would want from our council regarding delegations going forward, knowing the process you went through? So how could we make it better, streamline it, make it easier, painless, whatever you want to call it? How can we engage better with the public through delegations?
Stop the gatekeeping, stop the discrimination, and stop the intimidation.
Okay, that's enough.
And open it up.
There's no discrimination at all. There's no intimidation. This is a farce.
I'm not debating with you, sir.
I'm debating with you. It's an illusion by saying that you're being intimidated here. There is no point that you've ever been intimidated. We're getting constant emails from you, a dozen emails since Christmas, and the amount of time that we're spending on your emails is incredible. There is no intimidation. To say that, I will not tolerate that. That's a first warning. Go ahead.
Third delegation, my name is Edwin Giesbrecht, a very staunch and respected advocate of this municipality. And I'm here to speak today toward the Springfield Police Services. Councillor Fuel, once suggested that a referendum might be needed to dissolve the Springfield Police Service. But under the Police Services Act, there is no such requirement. Council only needs to pass a resolution and submit it to the Minister of Justice, easy peasy, no cost, no delay. I personally raised the idea of a referendum during the recent borrowing bylaw debate, and it fell on deaf ears of the council majority. Councillor Kaczynski himself estimated that this borrowing could saddle ratepayers with a whopper of around $100 million in costs. Yet council refused to give residents a direct say. If council won't allow a referendum on a $100 million debt, why would anyone pretend a referendum is needed to dissolve a failed police service? And let's be candid, the mayor has often emphasized his long career in the RCMP, decades of service that he himself highlighted during his campaign. With that background, one would accept him to be fully cognizant of the Police Services Act, including the simple fact that dissolving a municipal police service does not require a referendum. Yet here we are with council still pretending it's complicated, when in reality, it only takes a resolution and a ministerial approval. He also acknowledged during the campaign that SPS was an overlap. But what was done about it? Nothing. Not until the chief, every officer, and even the clerk had walked away. What was he waiting for? What did he expect? I admit, I simply do not comprehend how a council could allow such waste and dysfunction to drag on when the law and the facts were so clear. Springfield deserved action, and it still deserves action. Dissolution is the solution. So why hasn't this been done already? Where are the badges, the uniforms, the guns? Where are the SUVs? Where the purchased with public money? They're not in the parking lot. Where were there any golden handshakes with officers walked away? Has anyone accounted for these assets and expenses? And what about the cost of the building, the offices, and the overhead sunk into this failed service? That venue could serve the community far better as a municipal archive office. Under the Archives and Record Keeping Act, Springfield should already be maintaining a proper archive instead of the current archive as nothing more than a cubbyhole while $1 million building sits underused after a failed policing experiment. Think about the opportunity cost. Instead of pouring millions into a failed police service, Springfield could already have delivered a robust recreation facility, fully built and paid for, a safe, constructive place where seniors can gather and keep an eye on kids playing, offering a real alternative to the streets. That is something council could take to voters' banks and explain proudly at their next open house. Springfield already participates in a trilateral policing arrangement with the Oakbank RCMP detachment, the Beausejour satellite office, and the RM of Brokenhead for a fraction of the cost of maintaining our own police service. This model delivers broad coverage across municipalities. I suggest and challenge council to consider that with only a modest increase in shared cost, each partnering authority could secure 2 additional federally trained RCMP officers. That would provide a level of service far superior to what a small standalone force like SPS could ever deliver. And let's not forget, the police board with 16,000 residents, Springfield is legally required to maintain a police board of at least 5 members as long as SPS exists. That means appointing, training, and supporting 5 individuals, 1 counselor, 1 lieutenant governor appointee, and at least 3 more citizen members. It means agendas, minutes, staff, support, per diems, mileage, and administration. Dissolving SPS doesn't just end a failed policing experiment, it eliminates an entire layer of bureaucracy Springfield never needed in the first place. Residents should not have to pay for 2 layers of oversight when the RCMP and the province already provided the structure we needed. And what about bylaw enforcement? Springfield doesn't need SPS, it needs basic municipal enforcement. A counselor once told me, but a bylaw officer doesn't carry a gun. My response is simple. Neither do building inspectors, hydrometer readers, or Canada Post workers. Do we arm them all? Of course not. When there's risk, proper procedure is to call in the RCMP. And they already carry the guns with the training, backup, and interoperability to handle it. To suggest Springfield needs to keep SPS so a bylaw officer won't get shot is fear-mongering.
4 minutes.
In fact, across departments, planning, works, operations, bylaw complaints were being shoveled onto SPS, but SP officers are not bylaw officers, and they never should have been made to act like it. I have personal knowledge of a serious bylaw infraction in the southern portion of our RM, grade levels altered without permits instead of an inspection report, instead of an enforcement file. It ended up in an SPS officer's pocket notebook, chicken scratch. That was the report. Millions of taxpayer dollars, and that's what we got. It wasn't policing, it wasn't enforcement, it was negligence, and it was an insult to every resident of Springfield. The SPS was an overlap, and unnecessary burden on residents, a bad experiment from the start. It duplicated services, drove up costs, and left residents footing the bill while accountability evaporated. If you want to rebuild trust, stop hiding the truth about the SPS, dissolve it, formally repurpose its assets, and convert that building into a real municipal archive, not just a mere cubbyhole in the back of our library, but one that finally preserves Springfield's history and records properly as the law requires. It's time our archive gets its head out of the cloud. And what are some of the duplicated expenses and overheads? Badges, uniforms, firearms, and equipment purchases, SUVs and police vehicles, acquisition, insurance, maintenance, office building, utilities and administration, overhead golden handshakes or severance packages for departing officers, specialized police IT systems, dispatch and record software, training costs for officers and staff, rape kits, $3,000 each with expiry dates, medical inventory, duplication, holding cells and detention-related expenses, weapons qualification, certification and liability insurance, medical supplies duplication, first aid kits, naloxone, PPE, etc. Evidence storage and chain of custody facilities, payroll and benefits duplication, pensions, health plans, overtime, vehicles, fuel, outfitting, decals and radio equipment, public complaints and professional standards administration, insurance premiums for separate SPS operations, emergency call handling and dispatch already provided by RCMP, legal liability reserves and police board costs, all of this duplicated while the Oakbank RCMP detachment already provides full service to Springfield. Again, dissolution is the solution, Council. Thank you.
And we're there. They've been dissolved, SPS there. We're in discussions now. We got a CSO that's soon to start once we get the police car transferred over. Trust me, the equipment is all going to be utilized. If there's a time date stamp on it, we're going to offer it for sale before it expires. Everything's being looked into. Any other questions from council at all? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and again, thank you, Mr. Giesbrecht, for your dissertation. A lot of detail there. I echo with what the mayor has said, and I actually echo with what you and I think some members of council believe, that the RCMP are the integral element of our community. And so my question is very simple. The new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, dedicated and actually committed to 1,000 new officers across Canada. So would you see that that would be an added benefit, or would that be a positive step going forward? Because quite frankly, right now, I don't think there's any secret that we don't have full commitment of RCMP, not only here necessarily, but across various jurisdictions in Canada. So I would absolutely encourage the RCMP to have more officers, because they are the standard, they are the bar to measure against in terms of police forces. They've had some fantastic results, whether it be clandestine activities or drugs or whatever, right? But my question to you again is, do you think that's a smart move by the Prime Minister Carney to add or commit to 1,000 new officers across Canada?
100%. I've talked to a number of RCMP officers and sergeants, and it is staff shortage. And they got a bad rap. They got a little bit of a bad rap here a few years back, but that has, kind of melded away. They've taken evolution and process to improve, and they have. And from what Mark Carney is doing, it's absolutely, to me, it's unconditional. You know, they are paramilitant. They have they're better trained, they're better equipped, they're better connected internationally. So to me, it's not even something to think about.
Any other questions? I see none. Thank you very much for your presentations, Mr. Giesbrecht.
Okay, well, then that'll end my oral presentation. I did
Was that not
bring
your third?
this to give to Christy here. If you can give these to Counselor, and that was just something that came about here just as I finished at 5:30, and you may find that helpful in regards to some statistics on crime for your considerations of the SPS.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Giesbrecht.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, if we can proceed, let's go to 8.1, please. That'll be under bylaws, bylaw 2520, 2026 fees, second reading. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Kaczynski and Fuel. Councillor Miller, you got your hand up? Okay, go ahead.
Just some questions, Mr. Mayor, about the proposed bylaw fees and charges. On page 9, we have a capital water levy of 9250. I guess throughout the document that we were provided, are the changes highlighted? I know there's some items that are stroked out, but do we, like on, for instance, page 7, there's a number of sewer and water permit meter rates that are changing. Is that the only significant changes?
So council gave first reading on December 16th. So
Right.
if you go back to the first reading, there's many more changes that are noted. We've since approved what was passed in first reading. For second reading, the only proposed change is to do with the sewer and water permit meters. And that's because the actual costs to obtain these meters have increased, and we always want that to be cost recoverable. And I think that is the only change being proposed for second reading.
I guess my other question would be in terms of compliance for the residents. So in other words, on page 4, we have fees for minor renovations and basements. We have swimming pools. We have, you know, decks. When I was campaigning, and again, just in the general populace, people are not thrilled about taking out a permit for a deck. And in fact, I would suspect that not everyone does that. Do we have any statistical information? And again, I don't want to be the enforcer. In fact, I would be the one who reduces red tape and takes some of these out. And that would be my major thrust in this process is, do we have any, how can I say, appearance or knowledge of how compliance is in terms of these kinds of things? Because I'm convinced, just as in the city of Winnipeg, we get reports that people don't take out permits for decks and all the rest of it. It's nice to have a permit fee and to have it, but are we really seeing compliance with these kinds of things? Like, what are the numbers? What are the hard numbers?
I don't even think I could give you a number like that. Obviously, we're finding certain items just through drive-bys, or, you know, our building inspectors are out and about. They'll see something going up. They will make a note of it and come back, make sure there's a permit. So there's a lot of that work being done. Definitely when assessment goes on to properties, they will make notes about changes and provide that information to us so we can follow up that way. But obviously there's many homes that are doing renovations without letting us know. So
yeah, and I'm not suggesting we have a strong arm and go after these individuals. Obviously, you'd want 100% compliance, but we're likely not going to get it. So I guess the framework of my question is it even important to have permits for some of these kinds of things? Like, how does this compare to other municipalities? Like, is it a template that we have permit fees for everything from mobile signs to pools to decks and so forth?
Our planning staff do like a review of many RMs before they bring any proposals back so we're always in the ballpark with other municipalities. We don't increase just to increase. I would say we're not going to not request permits, because when it comes to insurance claims, then we're off the hook if they don't have a proper permit. Whereas if they do, then we stand behind that permit. And then the development officer can request that fees be doubled up to 4 times the cost if they're erecting things before getting the proper permits.
So there are those kinds of penalties.
Yeah.
And how do these match up to other municipalities, whether it be St. Paul or Piney? Are we in the ballpark? Are we midstream? Are we high? Are we low for the whole full range of permits?
I would say we're in ballpark. I don't think we're high or low. We try to stay same on what everybody's doing.
Yeah, and that's important to know. Again, I don't want to be on the high side or low side, but be somewhere in the middle is fine. And specifically on page 9, then the capital water levy. Again, my concern in opposition to the water treatment plant is not to stymie growth, but rather that we don't want to have a burden for our rural residents paying for water that's in their urban centers. So these capital water levies of 9250 and 6250, should they be higher to ensure that we do have cost recovery for the water treatment plant? In other words, I don't want our municipality and or rural residents and local urban residents to have ongoing debt. I mean, that's, as you know, the public outcry and or the concern that we've heard in the media, right, is that we have a potential significant burden of debt, which could be not $8 million, could be 10 million, could be more. Is there any way we could recapture that quicker so we don't have to have a tax burden for our residents? And simply, in simple terms, can we raise these to ensure that the developers, that the new people who are coming to our community, not to isolate them, but to say, hey, you're more than welcome to come to the greatest RM in our province, but there's a cost because we have the best services, we have the best infrastructure and so forth.
So we have been increasing our levies every year. Probably for the last 4 years, we've increased them substantially every year. We also compare other RMs. We are on the high side. I think there's only maybe 2 that are higher than us. And not all of them actually divide out their levies like we do, so it's hard to do comparables, but a lot of our infrastructure is not just from new development. I mean, we have old infrastructure that needs to hook up to water and sewer, and so they need to be paying these levies as well. It's not just all new development that is the reason we're expanding these services.
So you're saying that failed well in Oakbank or Dugald, they would have to pay into this, would be their service fee.
Correct.
For hooking up, I guess.
So we have over 800 homes in Oakbank that are still on wells. When they connect, they'll be paying these levies as well.
And that's helpful information. That's, the stats I'm kind of looking for is that. Thank you.
So does everybody in Old Oakbank that it's on the wells, that they have main pipe going through the streets or not?
No.
So what percentage of that don't have that service right now?
Out of the 800, a majority don't have lines in front of them. Offhand, I think it's only Willow. The main line runs there. And now anyone who has a well that fails on that road has to connect to water as long as we have that availability. So we've had to leave some capacity for those types of situations.
Thank you.
I see no more questions. Then if we can read the resolution, we can vote on it.
Be it resolved that second reading be given to bylaw number 2520, being a bylaw of the RM of Springfield to revise and update the fees payable to the RM of Springfield for municipal services rendered under the authority of the Municipal Act, the Planning Act, and the bylaws of the municipality.
With that being read, I'll first pose a question. Those in support with a show of hands. That is unanimous and so carried. Then we'll go to 8.11. Same thing, but the third reading. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Miller and Fuel. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question on page 13. Under it says sand, it says $6, and I just don't know what that would be for. So page 13, under Public Works, it says sand, $6. I don't know what that applies
I
to.
think if we ever have a surplus pile of sand, people can pay for a certain amount, and we charge $6.
Like
I think it's for a truckload or something.
Oh, okay.
So we can clarify that amount there. I think that's missing.
That's what I did for my kids' sandbox many decades ago.
And that actually might be of value for the public to know, because I know, as you know, we have an abundance of sand, gravel, and so forth. And the public, if they knew they had access to this, I mean, I know I bought sand in Winnipeg because I didn't know that we had sand for our kids. But if we can offer this service at a marginal price or an attractive price, I think people would be appreciative. And then just one other supplemental question. We review this, I think, on an annual basis. Is that true?
We were trying to do 3 years.
Oh.
This is the first time we've done 1 year because we wanted to really study those levies and make sure we had the opportunity to increase. So.
Yeah, and again, my concern again is on page 9, that I just want to make sure that the rural residents are not overburdened with paying for the water treatment and sewer in the urban centers, right? So the rural people shouldn't be overtaxed in contributing to the debt or the potential debt we will have with the water treatment plant and this, I guess, the eventual waste treatment plant as well. So.
Yeah, I would just say that when you build schools and seniors' homes and businesses, that's open to all residents, not just urban. So everyone has to pay for a little bit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I see none. If I can get the reading there, we can do the posed question.
Be it resolved that third and final reading be given to bylaw number 2520, being a bylaw of the RM of Springfield to revise and update the fees payable to the RM of Springfield for municipal services rendered under the authority of the Municipal Act, the Planning Act, and the bylaws of the municipality.
With that resolution being read, pose the question first to those in support. Show of hands. That is unanimous and so carried. Then we'll go to 8.2. That's bylaw 2601. Boy, already our first bylaw on the 26 there. Tax cancellation bylaw. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Tarian and Fuel. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I had an inquiry from a resident, actually a couple, that just wanted clarity, and I think our CEO had at least one of those emails as well. Why are we canceling taxation for certain individuals or properties? And I think if you can explain it, then there'll be more buy-in or understanding to that.
Yeah, so our tax cancellation bylaw is based on, so each property in Springfield obviously has the opportunity to appeal their assessment at the Board of Revision annually, depending on decisions from the board, as well as they can appeal board decisions to the municipal board. So we receive that feedback from assessment and we have to make those assessment corrections, which result in tax cancellations. And many times we have businesses that either close or relocate to new locations, so they don't take their roll number with you. So we have to prorate those taxes for the time that the business was closed. We'll do a tax cancellation. And if they just relocate, they're canceled at the old location, but then billed for the new location. So.
And thank you for that. Just one quick follow-up, as we all probably read in the Clipper. I just want to make sure that we're not following in suit with Broken Head, where they have, at least Brad Saluk has indicated that 30% of their ratepayers, or I don't know exactly, aren't paying their property taxes. Are we anywhere near that, or do we have any?
No, I was contacted, I think, by a media person about that story, and I responded that no, we do not have that issue in Springfield. We hold our tax sales regularly and people are paying.
And everybody knock on wood. Any other questions with regards to that? I see none. Then if we can get the resolution read, we can pose the question.
Be it resolved that first reading be given to bylaw number 2601, being a bylaw of the RM of Springfield, to authorize the cancellation of taxes and debts owing to the municipality.
With that being read, I first pose the question of support with a show of hands of those who support. That is unanimous and so carried. Then we'll go to consent agenda. That's items 10. If we can do them all together, 10.1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, would council be in agreement with that? Got the confirmation of that. Then if I can get a mover and a seconder for this, please. Tarian and Kaczynski. Any questions at all with that? I see none. We can do the reading.
Whereas a consent agenda has been submitted consisting of 5 items, be it resolved that the said consent agenda be received as information.
With that being read, I pose a question. Those as support, to show of hands. That is unanimous and so carried. We're going to a new business. Just got to get my 11.1. That's the tax sale date. Any questions or concerns with regards to that? I see none. Pretty quiet in here, right? If you can read the resolution.
I just need a mover and seconder.
Oh, I got a mover and I thought I had a mover and seconder. Fuel and Tarian.
Be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield designate 2025 as a tax sale year in order to clear 2024 arrears and earlier. Be it resolved that should a tax sale be required, the date will be Monday, November 2nd, 2026 at 10 a.m. in the RM of Springfield Council Chambers. And be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 363(1) of the Municipal Act, cost shall be the actual costs incurred by the municipality for each parcel listed for the tax sale, plus an administration fee of $50 per roll as set forth in Manitoba Regulation 50/97.
Thank you very much. If I can I'll pose a question. Those in support, tax sales date. That's you got yours up, Andy? You had your hand up? You had your hand up? Okay, so that's unanimous and carried. Then we'll go to 11.2, please. A mover and a seconder for Recycle West Ecocentre Recoveries. Mover and seconder, it's Miller and Kaczynski. Any questions at all with regards to that? I see none. If we can do the reading there.
Be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield authorize administration to extend the existing agreement with Recycle West Inc. for the collection of Ecocentre recoveries, waste oils, filters, and fluids at the Hillside and Oakwood waste transfer stations for the period of January 1st to December 31st, 2026.
Thank you. If I can get a show of hands of those in support as read. Unanimous, so carried. And 11.3, same thing, Recycle West agreement report. Mover and seconder, please. Tarian and Fuel.
Sorry. I think you're on the wrong item.
Which one am I at here?
11.3.
Okay, I'll just remove my screen here. Dugald retention pond. Sorry, mover and a seconder for that, please. Tarian and Fuel. Any questions at all from council? I see none. I can do the reading.
Be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield authorizes the Director of Public Works to proceed with the Dugald retention pond restoration work at an estimated cost of $300,000 to be funded from the 2026 capital budget, and to authorize Public Works staff to commence the work in late January, early February 2026, or as soon as practical thereafter, with an anticipated duration of approximately 5 weeks, subject to weather and site conditions, and to complete final landscaping and restoration work in spring, summer when conditions allow.
Thank you. With that being read, if I can pose a question, those in support, the show of hands. That is unanimous and so carried. Now we go to 11.4, please. That's STARS 2026 contribution request. Mover and a seconder, please. Andy, Kaczynski and Tarian.
Be it resolved that Council of the Arm of Springfield approves a grant in the amount of $1,250 to STARS for 2026.
Questions at all about that? That's a good thing to contribute to. Can I get a show of hands, those in support? As unanimous and so carried. And then 11.5, please. That's the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. I'm having trouble with my computer here. Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame and Museum. Mover and a seconder for that, please. Miller and Tarian.
Be it resolved that Council of the Arm of Springfield approve payment in the amount of $125 for a quarter-page ad in the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame and Museum banquet program.
Sorry, Mark, did you have your hand up there first? Okay. With that being read, there, a support letter, can I get a mover, or not a mover, show of hands of those in support? It's unanimous, so carried. 11.6, that's award appropriations, please. A mover and a seconder for that. Miller and Fuel.
So I think we've had a request. It's from a Team C Van Rysel Curling. So it's a young curling club from Dugald. And they've just recently won the Men's East Regional Qualifier for the 2026 Manitoba Games. And they'll be traveling to Thompson from March 1st to 4th. So I don't think they're suggesting a specific amount, but so we're just putting this forward for any council members who want to contribute.
This is great for our community, their young team there going forward. Not a curler myself, but I do understand the complexity of the sport there, and I'm prepared to put in, I don't know, what's council thinking? I'm good with 150. Andy and Mark? So 150 each?
150 each. Should we just make Melinda do it too?
Yeah. She doesn't know it yet. If you don't show up, this is what happens.
Be it resolved that the following 2026 award appropriations be approved. Team C Van Rysel Curling, all council $150 each.
Yeah. Show of hands, those in support. That's unanimous. And if we can get to 11.7, please, list of accounts, a mover and a seconder. Tarian and Miller. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. And I forwarded some questions to our CEO so we would have the information so I can list those. It's I don't know how you want me to do this, but 163506 to Thompson Dorfman Sweatman for about $5,300.
So this was a combination of different items. So it looks like there was a tax certificate overpayment that we had to refund. The Dogwood Drive parking consultation that we did through this office, the collective agreement negotiations, and governance advice.
Thank you. Next is 163512, Workers' Compensation Board for $11,610.
So this was our fourth quarter of our 2025 installment payment.
So generally we pay about, oh, I don't know, 45,000 to workers' compensation for staff. Is that
correct?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I kind of wanted to get out of that. 163534 Tennis Manitoba.
So this was a recreation program that was put on.
Okay. Thank you. EFT 602 Accurate Excavating for about $29,000.
This is road slide repairs to Melrose Road.
Roadside repairs to my road.
Melrose Road?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Your road?
which is my road. That's right. Okay.
You didn't see it?
That's what I'm wondering. Where? Anyway, EFT 624 exchange group for 32,500.
This is for the 2024 audit of our financial statements.
EFT 679 Can-Tech projects 98,000.
So this was the purchase of the Oakbank stormwater flight pump.
Okay, and one more is 684 full flow for just over $6,000.
This was the installation of a water softener for the splash pad.
Great, thank you.
That's it, Mark. Any other questions at all? I see none. Then if we can do the reading, we'll pose
It's
a
a
question.
long one, so get comfortable. Whereas disbursements have been reviewed for the period of December 11th to December 24th, 2025, be it resolved that all accounts listed on the attached printout from check 163,464 to 163,538, totaling $2,729,522.97, and EFT 601 to 696, totaling $1,565,227.49, be approved for payment, as well as the following withdrawals: Western Financial, $12,060.30. Red River Co-op, $42,414.83. RBC Insurance debenture payment bylaw 1120, $32,326.89. Amelia, $470.11. Petropass, $85. John Deere, $26,146.86. RBC Visa, $24,184.35. Wire to Minister of Finance for debenture payment bylaw 2206, $193,926.15. Debenture payment bylaw 1101, $282,781.68. Debenture payment bylaw 1020, $40,125.05. Manitoba Hydro, $29,406.81. Bell Canada, $935.80. RBC Insurance debenture payment bylaw 1622, $154,973.56. Debenture payment bylaw 1103, $142,459.06. Debenture payment bylaw 1201, $74,562.40. Debenture payment bylaw 1621, $56,830.12. Debenture payment bylaw 0911, $41,042.36. Debenture payment bylaw 1102, $32,890.98. Volvo 20,898.98. Bell Mobility 2223.85, Bell MTS 5567.16, and be it further resolved that December payroll in the amount of $340,643.62 be approved.
Did everybody hear that? If not, we'll have to get it read again. Is everybody hearing that? If I'll pose the question, those in support with a show of hands. That's unanimous, so carried. We're going to go into a closed meeting now, folks. Item number 12. Can I get a mover and a seconder to go into a closed meeting? Miller and Kaczynski. And we're going to go into a closed meeting at 8:01.
Need a vote.
Oh, can I get it? I thought we did a vote on that. I get a vote to go into closed meeting? Unanimous?
Recording stopped.
Thank you. We are coming out of closed meeting at 8:18. If I can get a mover and a second to come out of closed meeting, please. Fuel and Kaczynski. And we've going to go straight to adjournment. There's nothing else on. Oh, can I get a vote to come out of closed meeting? That's unanimous, so carried. Then we'll go to adjournment, last item on the thing here, at number 14 at 8:18 p.m. Thank you very much for showing up.